Hello and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, I would like to talk about the VCRs shown in the Speak Yourself final concert in Seoul, focusing on the possible hints they may be hiding and on how Jung can help us understand what's going on. Since I think that the different videos are foreshadowing different aspects of the next album, I've decided to split my analysis in two. In this video, I'm gonna focus on Jungkook, J-Hope, Jin, and Suga in relation to the theory of synchronicity, while in the next one, I'm gonna talk about RM, Jimin, and V in connection to the Make It Right animation and what Jung has to do with all of that. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's start by understanding what synchronicity actually is and why is it relevant in this context. Synchronicity refers to the state of being synchronous or simultaneous. According to Jung, synchronicity is a theory that revolves around the concept of meaningful coincidences. That is a series of events that rationally have no correlation but seem related meaningfully to each other. Let me give you an example to make it more clear. Say that one night you see a falling star and you wish to meet BTS. The next day you go to the supermarket and you actually see them buying cereal in aisle number 2. Even if on a rational level the comet passing by and you meeting BTS don't have any correlation whatsoever with each other, your mind perceives this coincidence as a sign that the universe is actually listening to you. If another person sees the same star and wishes the same thing but nothing happens, for them the falling star is a non-event. But for you, it becomes a sign. Synchronicity is something very common, even if we don't usually realize it. Jung used it to explain superstition, prophecies, and the supernatural. So it deals with all those situations where coincidences acquire meaning because in our minds they connect in some way. Now, this is very cool to know, right? But what does it have to do with BTS? Well, it turns out that BTS have been using synchronicity quite a lot in their music and concepts, even if they didn't make it too obvious. In DNA, for instance, the circumstances that led them to love are no coincidences, but destiny that allowed the lovers to find each other. In Serendipity, the title itself has to do with synchronicity, because serendipities are lucky coincidences that in the song are attributed to the universe acting in your favor. While in the Save Me webtoon, Jin constantly runs in the other members by chance, which is the very definition of synchronicity, because his goal is to find them in the first place. Do you see what I mean? In all these examples, there are meaningful coincidences that the boys themselves read as signs of destiny, and in the VCR, we see this pattern in full effect. Let's start with J-Hope and Jungkook. Now, in the video, the two of them never meet, but the way the video is cut makes us think that the two of them are connected even if they are separated. Their actions here perfectly mirror one another. JK enters the room, sits and stretches. Hobie arrives, sits and stretches as well. JK is chilling, Hobie is chilling. JK plays with the light and the street lamp next to Hobie replicates the same event. Here we see synchronicity at its best. The two of them are literally in sync. They do the same thing at the same time. And even if on a rational level the two situations have no correlation, our minds reads it as a sign that something meaningful is taking place. But what does it mean? What is actually happening? Well, in order to understand that, we have to understand what synchronicity has to do with the shadow and the map of the soul concept. The goal of Jung's map of the soul is to reach individuation, that is the task of bringing balance between the conscious and the unconscious in order to become a healthy individual, which basically means to give the right importance to the persona and come to terms with the shadow. That's synchronicity, where the outer part of you and the inner part of you are in sync, and the video is showing us exactly that. On the one hand, we see J-Hope outside and in the sun. He represents the persona and the conscious part of our identity, that is the image that we give ourselves when we are in public. On the other, however, we see JK in a bedroom. He represents the unconscious, that is the parts of us that we repress but come to the surface when we dream, which is why in the video we see him falling asleep. What happens next seems to confirm this as well. At this point, we are shown two different symbols, the bird and the man with one arm up and one arm down. In one of the latest Run episodes, V accidentally confirmed that this pose will be important in the next comeback. But what does it mean? Well, some people connected it to Abraxas, which is the Gnostic god of good and evil that was heavily featured in the Wings era. This is very plausible, but while I think that Abraxas will have something to do with all this mess, it's also worth mentioning that Jung saw him in a very negative light. So this leads me to believe that in this context the purse is meant to represent balance, which is what you get when you achieve synchronicity within yourself. To achieve synchronicity, however, you first need to connect the conscious and the unconscious, and this is where the bird comes into play. One of Jung's most important works is called The Seven Sermons of the Dead, which is a mystical exploration of the psyche full of bizarre dream symbolism linked to alchemy, mythology, and religious imagery. What's interesting here is that in the text, the bird is a messenger from the mother. The mother in this context can be seen as the anima, and in the map of the soul, the anima is what helps the persona connect to the shadow. See how all of this is coming together? In the VCR, Jungkook hides a watch under the blanket and the same watch finds its way into Hobie's pocket. Here we see the achievement of synchronicity. The conscious and the unconscious are in sync because the bird delivered the message, and when it happens, the two of them are literally enlightened. This is why Jungkook sends the message via paper plane. In BTS's music, the airplane is a symbol of freedom and success. But here, the plane can also be seen as the bird delivering the message to allow the persona and the shadow to communicate with each other. This is what synchronicity is all about. It's balance, harmony, which brings us to Jin and Suga. Now with them, things get really abstract. We see them among the clouds and surrounded by clocks. But besides serving visuals, they don't seem to do anything else. So this means that it doesn't have anything to do with synchronicity, right? Wrong! Let's break it down to see what I mean. Jin and Yoongi here are two men who consider themselves brothers chilling in the sky. Do you know anybody who corresponds to this description? Well, of course you do. It's the Gemini, the twins of the stars. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are you bringing up astrology into this? What does it have to do with synchronicity? Well, as it turns out, everything. Synchronicity connects to astrology because the first validates the second. As I mentioned earlier, Jung used the idea of synchronicity to explain the paranormal and the pseudosciences. So, whether you believe in astrology or not, Jung did. And he did because in turn it validated his concept of collective unconscious. Now, the collective unconscious is probably his best known theory, and it deals with the idea that our identity comes from a universal unconscious that we all share among each other and the universe. To put it into BTS's words, our microcosmos is built following the same patterns of the universe that we live in, and this is why coincidences don't exist. In his theories, Jung mixes religions, world mythology, alchemy, psychology, philosophy, all of it, because he thought that they were all connected and that our mind is the key to decipher the secrets of the world, which is basically what synchronicity is all about. If everything and everybody are connected on a cosmic level, then everything has an explanation. It's just up to us to become self-aware and find it. This is where the archetypes come into play. Now, the archetypes are basically models of behavior and character that we constantly use to decipher the universe. Since Jung invented them, he used them even when it comes to our own mind. Which brings us back to the map of the soul and the reason why I'm giving you a headache right now. See, it's all connected. In astrology, the 12 signs are archetypes in their own right. If you believe in astrology, then you believe in the idea that the movement of the planets and the stars in relation to your birth affects your personality and behavior. So they are patterns. They help those who believe in them understanding the world and themselves. The sign of the Gemini here is particularly fitting because on the one hand, it's the sign that reigns over BTS's debut date, and on the other, it represents duality. Once again, we see two opposing sides coming together. But how do we achieve balance in this scenario? Well, in astrology, the planet that rules the Gemini is Mercury, and in Roman mythology, Mercury is the equivalent of Hermes, which is the messenger of the gods. Do you see the connections? In J-Hope and Jungkook's case, the messenger that connected the conscious and the unconscious was the bird sent from the mother. Here instead, the symbols of duality are linked together by a divine messenger. In both cases, we see two opposites achieving synchronicity, and the result of this process can be found in the clocks. In all VCRs, the clocks point at 432, and this number corresponds to the frequency of the universe, that in musical theory is also the frequency associated to healing and harmony. This means that achieving balance within yourself leads you to healing, and BTS's map of the soul is helping you achieve that. To get to that point, however, we have to deal with the shadow first, and as we'll see in part 2, things are easier said than done. So that's it from me today. I'm so glad to be back, guys. I'm still a little bit sick, but I'm feeling much better. So part 2 is coming very soon. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.